Okay, our beloveds, we are moving on to a brand new topic today, and that is life after death. What does life after death look like? You have been so misinformed as to what this is. You're all living in somebody else's construct, even if you have watched the videos on near-death experiences. To a certain extent, not completely, but partially, your belief system or your construct determines how you transition and what you experience. So you look at Eben Alexander, who believed he was going to be worm food, so he literally was worm food until he realized that his mindset was creating this construct, and he would cycle or loop out of that place, go elsewhere, and then come back into the worm food experience. Then there are others who believe in Jesus, or they believe in hell, or they believe in Buddha, or they believe in love. But regardless of what you believe, ultimately, as you shed those constructs or belief systems in the afterlife, you begin to experience the fullness of what the afterlife has to offer. And it is not what you think, where you are in a physical form and you physically see Jesus or Buddha or your mother or your dog. It is an energetic world where there is no physicality to it. It is energy only. So visualize gravity. Visualize electricity. That is the form that the afterlife takes. So for example, if you were to use a fancy camera and be able to capture the energy forms of your deceased loved ones around you, you would not see, generally speaking, a physical image of them. You would see an energetic image. Now, it may give off the imprint of their face or of their form, skinny and tall, short and fat, male or female, handicapped or not, but it is merely an expression of their prior physical form that you are attaching to, when really they are simply energy, and the afterlife consists of only energy. Now, when you look at the world around you, you see only those things which you see in physical form. So let us pretend that you were to go into a white room with no objects in it whatsoever other than the door and the walls and the ceiling and the floor and you. It is similar to a green room, if you will, that they use for movies. And now you envision that room filled with 100 or 1,000 energies, all overlaying and overlapping, similar to a Venn diagram. There is no beginning of one and end of the other, because at the end of the day, you are all one. But as your energy form extends beyond your central point, it does weaken a bit from a visual perspective, and it visually appears to end, even though it doesn't. The energy extends beyond that unseen point of divination. So now if you have 100 or 1,000 people in a room with you that is 10 feet by 10 feet by 10 feet, how does that work? How is that possible that they would all be in there without suffocating one another? And it is because one does not begin and one does not end. One can overlap. So if, for example, you are praying to or connecting to a collective, like the Christ consciousness, think about how many energy forms actually create that collective. Or the Hopi energy form, which is not only the ancestors, but all those who connect to that way of believing and thinking and seeing and experiencing. Any and all who have some resonance with the Hopi way of life, past, present, and future, connect to that. But it is not really a singular point. It is merely an expression of a singular point that comes from millions and billions and trillions and quadrillions, if you will, of energies coming together, overlapping, coalescing, and treating one another as one entity for that purpose. So the point of this message is, do not expect that the afterlife will look the same as your present life. It won't. It will be vastly different. You are an energy form that has been squished into a skin suit. Other energies have been squished into the animals, into the rocks, into the trees, into the clouds, into the buildings within which you live, within Mother Earth, within the air, within everything around you. But it is literally all one, with no ending and no beginning, only your perception of division and creation. You cannot create what already exists. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It simply is. You can merely change its form, similar to water. Water can be frozen, it can be liquid, or it can be gas, right? A solid, a liquid, and an invisible in some sense to you. How you see it doesn't change its core essence. And it can be all three at the same time. If you put a frozen block of ice onto a hot surface, you will have a piece that is frozen, a piece that is liquid, and a piece that is in the gaseous form. Yet it is the exact same original energetic form. So do not limit yourself on what the afterlife must be like. Just simply be open to exploring that the energy within which you reside and which you ultimately are is fluid. It is plasma-like, which changes form and shape, and also its conductivity. It can be static, or it can be changing. Static meaning it's in more of a permanent form, such as a rock, which, given no outward impact on it, will remain in that same general form, versus a seed which will sprout and grow. They are both energetic in nature, but are vastly different. So begin to appreciate that you are also energy, and you can choose to be like the rock or the stone, which remains pretty consistent or static through its lifetime, or you can choose to be more like a seed, where you sprout and you grow and you change, and then you drop seeds for the next generation or iteration of you to present itself. And neither of these expressions are right nor wrong. They are merely options or choices from which you can choose. So when you move forward into this new Aquarian age, just realize that your intentions now matter so much more than they did before. And you can, through your own expression of self, choose much of the path that lies before you. Do you wish to be love or fear-based? Do you wish to believe in a better world and a better way of life? Or do you wish to believe that you are on your path to Armageddon and destruction? You, through your intentions, will draw those experiences to you. And much like the tragedy in Florida, which just occurred, you can experience horror and tragedy, or you can be living somewhere else where you are on a beach, and it is a beautiful expression without the trauma and drama. And you, our dear collective consciousness, get to choose where you focus your energies. Do not hide from the realities of life, as that is suppressing it, and that was the energy of the old, but instead embrace the reality of where you find yourself. But do not limit yourself to that expression and that experience. Trust that it could either be static, meaning you remain there for the rest of your life, or that it is changing and that it will morph into something different and better. Your belief in yourself and your collective humanity will allow and determine what the future expression of your life looks like. It is a strange journey, we understand that, and it is illogical, and in some of your eyes, even immoral and immortal. But if you don't explore and expand your own expectation of what is possible, you will never change and you will never grow. And you will continue to believe the same stuff that you have believed for eons, and that is that you are a product of your past and that you cannot change. That if your parents had a certain disease, you will get it. That if your parents were in a particular socioeconomic group, you will be in that. That you cannot transcend your past and your traumas. But you can if you believe in something better. It goes back to the project that another is currently working on, and that is, who am I without my trauma? Who am I without my story? If you had never had your past experiences, or you had amnesia, and therefore had no expectation of what a person is capable of, when you met them for the first time, your energy would be open and inviting and would create a different experience than if you have engaged with this person and your past experiences were negative or repressive or dangerous in some way. But if you had no idea, you would allow yourself to come from a different place, a different expectation. And believe it or not, when you do this and you treat the other person from a place of neutrality, each and every time you do this, you also allow the other person the option of responding from a place of neutrality, because they too would get to behave in a manner as if they had no past behaviors that others judged them by or on, nor past expectations of who they are, whether they have harmed people or whether they were traumatized in their own childhood and therefore carry that burden on their sleeve. You would give them the opportunity to behave, respond, or react from a place of neutrality. This is the purpose of the Great Reset, to allow each of you to reset your central nervous system, to allow you to respond or react or replace or re-envision everything simply from a place of love. If you have no memory of past traumas, how could you be anything other than love? So we encourage you to explore this concept a bit. It is literally life-altering and life-changing, because that is how you get outside of the spinning portion of the blender and instead pull into the central vortex, where you merely observe what is going on around you, but you no longer are living it yourselves. It's simple, yet it is very difficult to hold, to find, to attach to. But once you do, you can continue to seek out that unique vibration of a loving expression and simply become it, thereby resetting your own DNA and your own cellular memory. It is a journey that allows each of you to restore your inner sense of trust and peace and belief that there is goodness in this world, and that you can once again join that journey without your traumatic memories of the past, as well as your built-in trauma responses. It is the path that you will find yourselves on now, and many of you are already a few miles down this path, so kudos to you. Continue to march forward. You will not regret it. It is a beautiful, wondrous journey that takes you to the Holy Land, but not the Holy Land of the Bible or any other fable or story. It is the Holy Land where you will find yourselves sitting there waiting, cheering you on from the finish line. Your soul knows that you can do it and is calling you like a beacon to complete the race this time around. And so it is. Namaste.